Shavua Tov, everyone. Welcome to video number 30 in our WhatsApp series. I adopted this story from the version of Menachem Ziegelbaum that was posted in L'Chaim Weekly, and I added a few details from Ateret Malchut, and I call it Fear and Light at the Great Wedding. Rabbi Dovber, the son of Rabbi Shneur Zalman, founder of the Chabad dynasty, he served as the second Rebbe of Chabad from 1814 to 1827. He, by the way, was the first one to live in Lubavitch, to be the Rebbe in the actual town of Lubavitch. He was blessed with 8 daughters and 2 sons, and the first of his daughters to get married was named Bela, and she became engaged to TTels Zalman, who was the son of Rabbi Yosef Bunim, who was the son-in-law of the great Berdichev, Rabbi Levi Yitzchok of Berdichev. The Middle Rebbe and the Alter Rebbe, as the side of the Kala, they wanted to hold the wedding in Liadi, and the Berdichev was refusing. He was insisting that it should be in Berdichev. They finally arrived at a compromise, and the wedding was arranged to be in Zlobin, a town in the Ukraine that was approximately equally distant between Berdichev in the south and Liadi in the north. And the wedding took place in the month of Sivan in the year 1807. It was scheduled for a Friday afternoon, which was traditional in those days, with the celebratory meal also being the Shabbos night meal. And the wedding was attended by many great rabbis, Torah scholars, and many Hasidic rabbis, and as well as a large number of Hasidim. And it became known as the Great Wedding. The bride, her parents, and grandparents arrived in Zlobin a few days before the wedding, while the chassan with his parents and grandparents didn't arrive until the eve of the wedding. As soon as they did, Rabbi Shneur Zalman told his son, the father of the bride, that he should go to greet the great Rabbi Levi Yitzchok, one of the great tzaddikim of the generation. Rabbi Dovber turned pale. He said, "But Father, I'm afraid. He's greatly upset with me for teaching Hasidus in public, and I don't want to go there alone." Rabbi Shneur Zalman smiled and said, "Nevertheless, this is what you have to do, my son. It's only polite." So Rabbi Dovber stood up at his father's command and went to greet the Berdichev. As soon as he came in the room, his fears were realized. The Berdichev gave him a hard stare and then looked away, didn't say a word of greeting, and began speaking as if there were other people in the room. He says, is one really permitted to reveal these wondrous secrets and wisdom in public? One that has not seen the face of the holy Baal Shem Tov, our master whose teachings these are? And yet this one, and he points at Rabbi Dovber, he dares to teach Chassidus in public to the masses. Well, Rabbi Dovber got terrified. He ran out of the room. He went back to his father, the Alter Rebbe, and he said, the Rabbi Levi Yitzchok is still upset with me. I can't be there alone with him. I'm afraid. Rabbi Shneur Zalman realized that this is something that would have to be worked out before the wedding could really take place. So he returned with Rabbi Dovber to the room of Rabbi Levi Yitzchok. The two tzaddikim were very happy and excited to see each other. They greeted each other warmly, and they sat down together to speak. Rabbi Shneur Zalman asked the Rabbi Levi Yitzchok, "Why are you so upset with my son Beryl?" and Rabbi Levi Yitzchok said, "Look, this prohibition is not my idea. This was the words of our great teacher, the Maggid of Mezrich, who insisted that nobody should teach these great secrets unless he himself had seen the face of the Baal Shem Tov." So the Alter Rebbe replied to him, "Well, I saw the face of the Baal Shem Tov, and my son Beryl says only those words that he hears from me." The Berdichev said, really? You saw the face of the Baal Shem Tov in a vision or awake? And Rabbi Shneur Zalman said, awake, of course. There's a whole story behind that, but not for now. And so Rabbi Levi Yitzchok said, "Oh well, then let's hear how he delivers this, how he delivers these teachings." So Rabbi Shneur Zalman told Rabbi Dovber to give something over, and at first Rabbi Dovber was quite nervous to be able to have to speak in front of these two great tzadikim, but he launched into a mimer, a deep Hasidic mimer, and he became totally immersed in what he was saying, and he was giving over ideas that were higher and higher and deeper and more complex. And the Berdichev sensed that the source of these ideas that we're giving over were from the first tablets that Moshe received at Har Sinai before they were broken. He was overwhelmed with the holiness of the moment, and he jumped up and he took a talit and covered Rabbi Dovber's face with it. And he said, God forbid that the seraphim, the fiery angels, should become envious of you. You really need to beware of the evil eye. Then he turned to Rabbi Shneur Zalman and said, how was your son able to attain such a lofty level, to a source of such high teachings? Rabbi Shneur Zalman didn't answer right away. He was deeply in thought. It was clear that he was also at an exalted level. And finally he raised his head and he said, look, when this son of mine was born, I wanted to name him Hamanuna, after the great Hamanuna Saba, whose teachings are so often cited in the Zohar, and who is known to have the loftiest of souls. And I sensed that my son's soul was on the same level as Rabbi Hamanuna Saba, and therefore I wanted to name after him. But what happened? Our teacher, the Maggid, appeared to me in a dream and requested that I name my son after him, Dovber, the personal name of the Maggid. And so this I did. I named him Dovber, but you should know that his son is on the level of Rav Hamanuna Saba, and that's why he is able to reach such a lofty source. Rabbi Levi Yitzchok said, it's amazing because I tell you, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai didn't reach such a lofty source as your son does when he teaches. So with the situation resolved, they stood up to leave to go to the chuppah, to go to prepare to the chuppah, and Rabbi Levi Yitzchok insisted that Rabbi Dovber be in the lead and exit first, because he said, you have taught me, you're my teacher, you're like my teacher. He said with great humility. Rabbi Dovber refused, of course, to walk out before the tzadik and before his holy father. And there was a little discussion between the tzadikim on who should go out first, and nobody would leave until finally some Hasidim who were summoned came and widened the doorway, chipped away to widen the doorway, so all three were able to walk out abreast.